Dead giveaway. Spit out that obvious Nashi Nimrod. So what if they decide first to catch us, then to kill us? What if we are made to be silenced for breaking the vow of their false perceptions of tolerance? Will we willingly lay down our lives, be dragged kicking and screaming home to roost? I have learned godliness. Learned teamed with contentment is great gain, even when bones of contention are tossed my way. Help me to see the giant tree growing out of my own eye, in need of uprooting, lest I should focus all of my attention on the speck of dust in yours. Let not this nightmare come true, if I have nobody to rely on in this world other than myself. God, I know that I've got you, even when all my friends and family have departed from this planet. If I don't beat them to heaven first, won't you help me dodge those stumbling blocks? I didn't used to care as much back then about doing what displeases you as I do now, 'cause I'm closer to my tomb than I ever was, and I am in the dark about just how much time I've got before my number has been called. The bell is ringing. Preparing for my fall seems to preoccupy my mind most of the time. These hours I've got are dwindling fast. They are kindling for the ghosts of the past to gobble alive. I will only be your ball and chain. I can't offer you anything but despondency, responding with almost robot-like utterance. Instead of the excited expression I had every intention of displaying on my face, yet the first impressions failed to give the result I had hoped for. If we eloped, you'd never get the wedding you dreamed about for the longest period. Sometimes I put my joints under so much pressure, I think they're gonna snap on me. If I was an iced out river, then you could do a lap on me. I am about to collapse under the pressure to perform, incapable of conforming to everyone's expectations of me. You shouldn't have to tell me multiple times that there's someone trying to get my attention on the other end of the phone line. You should have known what kind of tricks I get up to when the clock strikes at the point of midnight. If only I could have prevented those galloping horses dragging you away from me like ice when it breaks off the shelf and floats out into the sea. There's no way I can reach you now. I can't make you see my point of view, peeking through my ivory tower, clad with jungle vines and bitter brew. Deny the rumors have any smidgens of truth. When you come in, I will go. There will be no trace of me remaining at your door. You won't find me round these parts anymore. I have witnessed enough brutality for one lifetime. If my former love was behind bars, would she be safer, or the ones beyond her reach? You may reap what you sow, or another might come along and steal your crops when they're fully grown. A lawn is always mown somewhere on this planet, pockmarked with dabs of blue and green here and there. You set out to be the biggest name in the galaxy. Perhaps you would have been better off making Jesus famous instead. Herbal and floral, scented air, an organ smashed beyond repair. Quit acting like you never once did ever care for me. Remember when I couldn't tell you your face that I wanted to kiss it, so I let my notes do the talking for me instead. Clumsily. It's way too easy to misinterpret a metaphor for something far more devious than the way I meant it Is this my shot at redemption? Could we be something more than a miracle I manufactured in my own skull? I am ensconced in the holiness and love of my Father, who never departs from this withering, quivering, shivering heart. Though I have strayed so far from that place where everything was as right as rain between us, and I didn't for 1 second question your judgments. I may be slightly disinhibited, but you gave me a conscience and self-control, so I can't just pretend like they don't exist. Though I can numb them and ignore them at my peril. If only I can see around the corner, spot the danger lurking in the shadows. You should know most people don't intend to be prideful and thus driven. Oh, foolish ambition, you will be the death of me, unless Jehovah intervenes, redeeming my motivation for his purpose. Remember meeting a girl for the first time and swimming together in the gated community complex used by my homies. I found her vulnerability charming, as much as her impressive knowledge of the scripture far outshining my feeble own. If only I had never caught her cussing, then we would have found more for discussing. I could have spent a lifetime fussing over her, making sure her every need was met. But the most I ever got to give her was a sweet treat to chew. When we were paying our pastor a visit in his dying state of being in the hospital ward, I thought we would have seen the other side of this tragedy. After all, he had bounced back before, after a nasty turn for the worse. That could have only been spiritual attack, considering its occurrence was during a conference that challenged us to think about the necessitude of the blood of Jesus. All these people that I used to love and care about now only appear in my life in digital form. I don't want the day to arrive when that's all they are to me, just fleeting memories I can't touch anymore. I guess I should have known when she was all grown up in a fedora she wouldn't have time to turn her head in my direction and show even the slightest amount of affection towards me. Can you be my sweet melody? God offers people second chances, but humans don't always operate the same way. I know I have been foolish in my actions. If I hadn't let you see what an eager beaver I was to get started on the journey of love, maybe we could have worked it out eventually. You do the maths, but I was always rushing around ahead, tripping over myself trying to get through to you how much I love and care about you, when I was a lot less addicted to this machine which provides so much distraction and competition, pulling my heart away from God and any woman who chooses to love me, who doesn't live inside the virtual world but beyond my idiotic, boxed-in, compartmentalized ideas of what love is. The ravine I fell in. Darling, you dance so incredibly well. I think it's swell that you should pick this dark hay-lined shed to chew your praline, the finest of felines this tomcat has ever seen. I would rather be beamed in the face with a sledgehammer than have you catch me stammering again. But I suppose all my yammering might lead us to an altar all our own. Could wedded bliss be in God's plan for us? I'd hate to think of you slipping through my hands when we've only just begun this incredible journey together. What if I step on your feet? That's what you get for foxtrotting with monkeys. She had a sweet face, but she wasn't very articulate. Or perhaps my get-up just gave her the heebie-jeebies, fearing nearness. When the world was fetal and formless. Your beautiful voice encourages my vim for Jesus. I can feel that energy returning. What I once falsely considered completely burned out of my system. Can I stretch beyond the precipice of my immediate vicinity, jump out the window and spread my wings, finally free? Remember laying out on the lawn, spelling out the initials of our school with our bodies stretched and bent at odd angles. Having to do it all over again when the poor misguided teacher stuck his thumb over the shutter. I swore I'd never be that stupid, but did the exact same thing a little further down the train track. Though we are one in the Son of God, the world keeps trying to divide and separate us into genders, generations, denominations, infiltrating our psyche with the doctrine of the Nicolaitans, attempting to come between us by causing us to quibble over piffling little differences. Like the way we do communion by being served by others coming to our row, or helping ourselves by getting out of our seats and marching to the front when someone is guarding the sacraments for us, jumping through the hoop of the tiger's mouth. They have different ways of doing things round here. They had to see the usual order of things interrupted by newfangled ideas. You couldn't possibly head in any direction but the usual, could you? My method isn't working. I can't keep myself from drifting, so still I will plod on, though I flop among the waves, a dismembered effigy of a being that once was. Content in your arms, I can find myself becoming so much less than what I once was, fading away into obscurity, my little star no longer shining quite so brightly, addicted to that fame and fortune, starving for tenderness and affection, revealing my ignorance despite my claims to be the biggest fan of the one whose ideas I'm swigging. Only to spit that tasty juice out of my own mouth, thinking myself down with the street gangs and outcast kids. Why do you keep fading away from me? I know what it's like to chase your dreams and watch them slide away from you. To feel the rug being pulled out from under you. I pat you down, plodding my way alone. I didn't think I possessed the strength for purpose to stick around for as long as I did. Now I'm beached like that sick, sad, stranded turtle, with no hope of evolution or restitution, no possibility of coming back to a world less cruel, deserting and abandoning it, leaving its brow pierced with a thorny crown of starfish. Oh, the beauty of being legless, having your limbs severed, only to know God will grow another one back again for you. Isn't he clever like that? What an absolute genius. You will never see me chilling around your suburbs ever again, though I may spot you in a callous or completely indifferent crowd hanging round mine. Just when life was starting to get interesting, an alternative being offered for those of us not the slightest bit interested in entertaining ourselves by fetching balls or being smashed in the face when they come hurtling towards us at 100 miles an hour, like a cannonball on fire, clearly hell-bent on taking out our noggin, living for no other purpose than to give us a slogging. Thank God I never copped that flogging. For my sins, neither did I expect a toboggan or a whiskey flagon. Sly cooking is gonna get us all in deep poop one of these days. I can see you throbbing from the last wound inflicted on your velvety skin. Chase away the robins, swabbing at your chin, bobbing and weaving through the human traffic, hobnobbing with the rich and famous ducklings. See my heart slobbing and dobbing ever faster when I'm in your presence, cobbling together my worn and weary shoes. It's been way too many of our hours squabbling, pecking and scratching like a bunch of angry territorial chickens, not willing to share our own space. I didn't intend to hornswoggle you, but if I gave a reason, it would just boggle you. I know you would refuse to accept my version of the truth, so though I hate to lie to you, my best option was simply to avoid telling the truth by remaining silent. Pretending that everything was fine when in fact it was quite the opposite. I hid the storm brewing inside of my head. Why do I find myself wrestling with patience more when I'm around you? Fearing when I will catch you lashing out next. How many people have to fall around you like dominoes before you wake up to yourself? Don't you know one punch can kill? Stop blaming the things that happen to you for your reaction to the circumstances you find yourself in. There are more healthy ways to deal with that anger welling up like lava inside of you. Don't you know one of these days you are gonna do so much damage to someone you will stick them in the cemetery, not just in hospital. You are blessed nobody pressed charges ages ago. Why do families go into protective mode when terrible things like this happen in the community? They are not preventing disaster, only perpetuating its inevitability. Sports, alcohol, and violent tempers are a volatile mix. Why don't we focus on what the Holy Spirit's doing just for kicks? Give ourselves a reason to smile instead of frown. Forget about the act of treason I committed in your little one-goat town. How do you solve the puzzle of your temper and calm your nerves? How do you love somebody when they don't deserve it in the slightest? Lord, I'm amazed by your grace and mercy. I can't believe you would ever want to call it quits on us, even though you never did. I know it frustrated you watching your disciples failing to get it, some not realizing till you were nailed upon the cross that you are the King of Kings and Lord of Lords, the one capable of delivering all nations from the evil we bring upon ourselves. There's nothing impossible for you to fix. I'm a mixed up kid, but you chase away confusion from my mindset. We all need a reason to jump up and down and celebrate right now. When our world has been tipped into some ghoulish soup bowl, feeling our body disintegrate like flies where acid rips holes in their flesh. We will get out of these chains, experience true serenity, liberated by death for the second coming of Christ, whichever is first to arrive on the scene to rescue me. It only takes me a second to reach my happy place, but oh, how I long for it, to be uncorrupted and permanently made pure. It's far too much manure in me. There is far too much manure in me. Still I am en route to maturity. City. Have I earned my reprieve? Will my flesh be burned away from my bones before I believe you can atone for my sins? You can step in right at the moment whenever I feel like my hope has long since perished. Locked away in infinite sorrow, entombed in the deathly chambers of forgotten tomorrows. What good is my memory? What good is my marrow if never destined to be chaff for my dear departed mutt? No, that's using your coconut, reaching out to the universe maker to lift you up from solitude's abyss. Camera Obscura, a meeting place for vainglorious midget munchers. I don't have any photos on the wall to remind me of the times we spent together when we were happy in each other's company. I don't have any clothing that speaks to me of your culture in an obvious way. Just the generous reminders of a love that once burned bright before it started to fade. If only I could go back to how things used to be between us. It seems like the more hours we spend together, the worse our relationship got. We know each other far too intimately for our own good. We can finish each other's sentences. We practically live in the same neighborhood, just down the road, a little bit further along from where I used to be. In a quandary over whether I will ever be healed of this nervous reaction when I am faced with the prospect of my imminent slaughter. Is that just the fear talking, calling for my torture by internal torment? I couldn't prevent it from happening, not for a single second. There's no turning back for me, not this time. I refuse to play the marionette victim of the pressure heaped on me to either take sides or keep my silence. I cannot be the voice of peace and reason when voicing my opinion is considered an act of treason to you. Speaking the facts, now the trees are on the ground. Your leafy house no longer standing, independent of others' objection. Getting a little introspective. Introducing corrective measures. Though I treasure your comradeship, I fluctuate between loving and hating with equal measure. Not wanting to put my life at risk, or see one who has the potential to become a good father rotting in jail, locked away behind bars, yet also not wishing to bear the scars of his atomic bomb reactions. They say it's just the way things are, you should leave it alone. Carry on as if nothing's happened, even as you shake in your boots and find yourself changing in ways you don't like, becoming more grouchy and temperamental, exploding at the slightest provocation, throwing a temper tantrum when things don't go my own way. I have kicked enough walls and punched way too many for one lifetime. I should like to know why it is I find myself forced to walk along this lonely road. Out in the country you can hear the birds and view the stars twinkling more clearly.
If only my ears were in tune to their singing, praising their Creator with such merry melodies. It's awesome to behold in your mind's eye, or even captured on camera. The cross is at the center of the universe and the human body. So what if we don't make the cross the center of our lives? Is this the reason why we get in trouble for one season or for? When will we close the door on those old ways of dealing with irksome occurrences in our lives? Do we just punch first and ask questions later? Don't we consider the consequences of our actions before we make them? Taking that well-beaten path of irate mental states. Do we see the pirate of irritation boarding our sinking vessel? Why do we allow these ransacking mutineers to overtake our thoughts? Don't we have a choice? Is it because we fail to voice our increasing frustration until the moment it takes us over and drags us under? Drowning in furlough waters, clogging up my conscience, blocking off the entry of reason, lacking rationality, failing to force myself to calm down before I get carried away and let that rage cause me to lapse into my judgment. Another bridge collapsing, a holy warrior left floundering on a deserted island of despair, ripping out my hair with every change of plans. When control over my life seems to have been ripped straight out my hands. Not so desperate to get to where my family is now, when there are sure to be voices lurking in the shadows waiting for an opportunity to criticize me, put in their 2 cents worth, throwing in their unwanted and unwelcome opinion about how I could have handled the situation better, and how they would have done things so much differently had they been walking in my shoes. They will attempt to dissect the course of events, misinterpreting every single word you meant or telling them all out of context. This pain seems unrelenting till we decide to leave our heavy burden at the feet of Jesus. No one for sure he can relieve it. If we don't deceive ourselves that allowing our just cause for guidance gives us permission to erupt in a cloud of hot, cranky smoke. How can we kill this dragon in us? What is it exactly that pushes us over the edge when we feel as if the honor of the Mirror Men or our family has been insulted? Then we prepare our weapons ready for warfare. Make sure our trusty blade is sharpened, not rusty. Yet how often do we take time to spiritually give up for the next evil onslaught? It's not like it ever stops. We just slip in and out of consciousness of it. Until the day where our Messiah arrives to take us home to heaven. Please don't make excuses for fake believers' foul language. There's a difference between an occasional slip-up and a regular habit. Demons consider this earth their habitat, but it ain't where they belong, is it, saints? Your way out of. Don't allow yourself to get pushed into a corner, thinking the only way to solve your problems is to kick and punch your way out of them. You have boxed yourself in. You forgot you have been forgiven of much, so you have to do a whole lot of forgiving. Hugging grudges is gonna get your neck squeezed clean off its head. Are you thought of Where they belong is its sense. It's not where, but it ain't where they belong is its sense. Don't allow yourself to get pushed into a corner. Thinking the only way to solve your problems is to kick and punch your way out of them. You will box yourself in. You forgot you have been forgiven a much, so you have to do a whole lot of forgiving. Holding grudges is going to get your neck squeezed clean off its head one of these days. Don't blame me if I disappear into the woods for a while, just because I fear your smile as much as your blessing, as your blazing heat. Wondering if it's just the eye of the storm I'm staring at. Deadly calm, taking measures to prep for the next eruption. That shouldn't be so much volcanic activity situated in our sleepy little backwoods suburb. There's a reason we don't dwell among those angry, snarling motorists. We don't like headaches from the clubbing noise. We don't need pointless tirades on our streets. I didn't witness the breaking of dishes, but a vase came close to being connected with a skull, intended as an assault weapon. You should have used your vocal artillery, then maybe you wouldn't be buried beneath the weight of the world. You will have to shoulder the blame for your kid treating others like a soccer ball or ragdoll, only existing for him to kick around and thump for the thrill of watching them wince. Where does his delight of seeing items crack and break emerge from? If not the sinister method for resolving conflict taught by his daddy, who should have known better. I know all you want is peace and quiet, so willfully and walk away. So why not walk away instead of kicking up a ruckus and starting a bat? And are we just supposed to watch as you ruin our lovely world? I haven't got the guts to stand up for you and prevent another accident from occurring. When I try to calm your nose, it seems like I'm stirring up another hornet's nest. If you want to smash my face in like a candle, if you want to smash my face in like a can, I won't say be my guest. Terrorize the terrorists, terrified of living a happy, quiet life in the boondocks. The Buonavoglia are roaming ferociously. Is it because they're free to come and go as they please that they do it so atrociously? Please don't think our God is so capricious. He wouldn't engineer it so tragedy occurs. He wouldn't engineer it so tragedy occurs deliberately, setting all the dominoes up so one comes tumbling down upon another. Who but the author of confusion and lies has caused all this chaos to erupt around me? When will we feel obligated to... Right? The Buonavoglia are rowing ferociously. Is it because they're free to come and go as they please that they do it so atrociously? Please don't think our God is so capricious. He wouldn't engineer it so tragedy occurs deliberately, setting all the dominoes up so one comes tumbling down upon another. Who but the author of confusion and lies has caused all this chaos to erupt around us? When will we feel free to party on a bridge or go to a concert in a stadium again? Hasn't there been enough disruption to our once calm and peaceful ordinary lives? This jihadi mindset is encroaching on our doorstep unless we can flee from these legions of angry eyes, only meaning harm towards us. Is there anywhere on earth that is safe? Why should we give refuge to those who only want to destroy us? Whether we are kids or adults, guilty or innocent, believers or pagans, heretics or derelicts, awake or asleep, as you say, all our efforts count for nothing, trying to beat this evil from destroying all our innocent remains. How much of our beautiful world has already been butchered? They call us dumb because we refuse to conform to their twisted agenda. Oh, how the blind men lead each other into ditches. Neither dodge them, they both fall in head first. Is it pessimism or realistic logic to pursue the thought that things are only gonna get decreasingly worse before they get better? I don't want to be one of those doomsday prophets with a billboard on my chest saying the end of the world is just around the corner from us. I'd rather be wiped out by a nuclear holocaust than terrorists. At least my death would be swift and effective. I need to step outside my situation, gain a little bit of perspective, because right now my view of the world is looking majorly defective. What measures have we taken to protect ourselves? Are we outside the trajectory of those fear-inducing bombs and rockets? In the old days, they used to have to worry about cannons and fireworks, gunpowder exploding, sticks of dynamite, machine guns firing, automatic weapons rubbing you up the wrong way, like static electricity. We have to keep on living our lives. We can't just hide away in holes, or none of us would ever make any money. Then I wouldn't be able to skive off the benefits gained by other people's hard work, pouring out blood, sweat, and tears for the sake of providing for their homes, for their houses. We are searching for an identity of our own. These mean and nasty fellows are closer than we think. It makes us want to batten down the hatches and imitate moles. Are we only ever argument away from Karen? We are searching for an identity of our own. These mean and nasty fellows are closer than we think. It makes us want to batten down the hatches and imitate moles. Are we only ever one argument away from a knife fight? Let our eyeballs not be gouged out, nor our tongues tied up in knots, just because we forgot to obey our parents, or speak only what is pure, true, holy, and right, never what is false or slanderous, only bringing others agony with every syllable we speak. Let me never become casualties of our own garbs. For your hearts and souls belong to God. In this climate, it appears that any dissent is considered just cause to lock away anyone who possesses a belief other than that which purports to suggest that the truth is unknowable and has unlimited cousins. Let us never become casualties of our own gobs, for our hearts and souls belong to God. In this climate, it appears that any dissent is considered just cause to lock away anyone who possesses a belief other than that which purports to suggest truth is unknowable and has unlimited cousins. We don't always want to ponder too deeply what it is that keeps us from cracking up into millions of tiny little pieces, floating out in space, unable to reassemble them, suggesting sax and violins as an alternative to needless violence, resulting in the robbery of our future seeds, corroborating evidence that there were plenty of warnings and witnesses. The present calamity didn't have to turn out the way it did. It seems In this climate, it appears that any dissent is considered just cause to lock away anyone who possesses a belief other than that which purports to suggest truth is unknowable and has unlimited cousins. We don't always want to ponder too deeply what it is that keeps us from cracking up into millions of tiny little pieces floating out in space, unable to reassemble them, suggesting Saxon violence as an alternative to needless violence, resulting in the robbery of our future seeds, corroborating evidence that there were plenty of warnings and witnesses. The present calamity didn't have to turn out the way it did. It seems in the name of political correctness, our sensibility took a runner. We put the people in charge who would only mean us harm, who would take away our right to bear arms. I'm not attempting to justify hairy bear-like chests, but pointing out the stupidity of making it easier for those in the pay of evil overlords to take us out of the picture. Simply pulling the trigger. Keep your eyes open for suspicious movements. In this environment, every man suspects his neighbor of being less than neighborly in intent. Yet how do we know for sure what danger lurks just beyond our door? When in the malls there's those with bombs strapped under their dresses, veiled women refusing to take off their headscarves in court, and when pulled over by cops or passing through. Yeah. I'm not attempting to justify hairy bear-like chests, but pointing out the stupidity of making it easier for those in the pay of evil overlords to take us out the picture. Simply pulling the trigger. Keep your eyes open for suspicious movements. In this environment, every man suspects his neighbor of being less than neighborly in intent, yet how do we know for sure what danger lurks just beyond our door? When in the malls there's those with bombs strapped under their dresses, veiled women refusing to take off their headscarves in court, or when pulled over by cops or passing through airports, screening with metal detectors, following cultural traditions that exist in no rule book of religion, cremating their innocence. There are craters in our logic. Meteors have hit that once fled landscape, creating a pit out of thin air. Almost. There used to be a time when you could say whatever you wanted about someone without fearing libelous reprisals. How long will the grudges be hugged? One nation has an axe to grind against another, and go on this, and so on this sluggard pace goes. That's probably a reason why you avoided relationships with someone from that place. It wasn't necessarily a conscious choice, but maybe some part of you was directing your heels down another avenue deliberately. In fact, in fear you might become authority. In fear you might become the next to be sliced like luncheon meat. Imagine a world without any music, where nobody bothered to question authority, because if they did, their life might be on the line. They would be risking more than just a lemming-like reputation. It's sheer lunacy to try and reason with people that want to wipe you off the face of this planet. All you can do is pray Jesus will make a way when it seems as if there's no possible method of removing the mountain blocking our path. It's a carnival of horrors, that ride that keeps you up all night in terror. There's a certainty that's guaranteed, like eggs, death, and taxes. While you remain breathing, this problem shall persist. It's only our silence that permits its progress, advancing to the upper echelons of society. How many babies have to be kidnapped and sold into sex slavery before we will vote with our feet? When we allow to advance and what we allow to advance and retreat in society, I could care less about vanishing animal species, while there are humans perishing needlessly. We have to watch our kids carefully so they don't become recruits for evil armies aiming to destroy us, messing with our minds, messing with our way of life. Intolerant of religious freedom or alternative methods of dealing with the divergence of manners in which we perceive sexual identity, wolves will eradicate other wolves, as well as causing carnage for the populations of our sheepfold. Untold treasures await those who are faithful until death. Breathe not, be exhaled or inhaled without explaining the name of our God. We have to watch our kids carefully so they don't become recruits for evil armies attempting to destroy us, messing with our way of life, intolerant of religious freedom or alternative methods of dealing with the divergence of manners in which we perceive sexual identity. Wolves will eradicate other wolves, as well as causing carnage to the populace of our sheepfold. Untold treasures await those who are faithful until death. Let your breath not be exhaled or inhaled without exalting the name of our God, whose passion inflames us. What do all our bridges of harmony mean? If we find them being torn to rubble by those who trouble our civilization, one too many barbaric acts have been perpetuated against us. The box stops here. Rise up from lethargic bombasticness. Horse manure got treated with more delicacy than some of our senior or mentally incapacitated citizens. You may perceive this as the path of least resistance. You may believe that I've already given up the fight, but can your mind conceive that I just might be fighting for you in the spirit if not in the flesh? I know I am taking the easy way out. I didn't follow your mother's instruction when she told me I should take care of you. When you were in that circumstance, you couldn't extricate yourself out of begging on the floor of your tears ocean for a reprieve from his operations out of instinct, caring less about if he hurt you and more about unleashing his his inner beast. 'Cause in the immediate moments afterwards, he wakes up and smells something other than himself had temporarily slipped its way under his skin and taken him over. How many of us are conscious of our own monsters? How hard do we truly try to fight against them controlling our lives and poisoning our minds? Will we allow our futures to be destroyed? How can we fill the void when your departure leaves a great absence in me? A hole I struggle to fill in my heart. I am reminded of my dog digging up sand pits and flower beds, creating a sinkhole we could slip on through into another world, maybe if we wanted to. There's something magical about this place, being alone in the woods. No longer misunderstood. You can hear the birds move crisply and clearly. The trees tangling and twisting, growing so tall they block out the sun. Stand still. Stop for a minute. See the tiny animals hurrying and scurrying about. Smell the evidence of their recent presence in the place. in this place. Follow the trails of koalas down the corridor, left naturally by their scats and feet. I could work on a job for years and still not master the act of tracking in the bush. Even if you pushed me hard, you still wouldn't get through to my thick brain cells. I dwell in my little cabin in the forest amongst these logs. I find my peace. Remember the old advancements. Remember the old abandoned schoolhouse with the ink wells. You would do well not to drink from it. Don't tip it to your lips in order to take a sip, or you will slip like a ship into the wreckage of a life misspent and overweight suit. I know why you're going Looney Tunes, 'cause you think you're not living the life that you deserve. I can see you settling for second best, 'cause your family needs milk and bread, and if the upper class may be a little cream and cat and cheese, I shouldn't make such feudalistic distinctions between levels of society, 'cause the lines blur anyway, and money can't buy you class anyway. You still wouldn't get through to my thick brain cells. I dwell in my little cabin in the forest. Amongst these logs I find my peace. Remember that old abandoned schoolhouse with the ink wells. You would do well not to drink from it. Don't tip it to your lips in order to take a sip, or you will slip like a ship into the wreckage of a life misspent and overweight too soon. I know why you're going Looney Tunes, 'cause you think you're not living the life that you deserve. I can see you settling for second best, 'cause your family needs milk and bread. And if the upper class may be a little cream and cheese, I shouldn't make such feudalistic distinctions between levels of society, 'cause the lines blur anyway, and money can't buy you class anyway. It's something you're born with. You either treat people with respect and act polite towards everyone you meet, no matter how rich or poor they are, or you act towards them with disdain, pretending like you're on a higher plane than them. I didn't get a closer. I didn't mean to impose on your agenda. Pictures frozen in time, or faces you probably don't remember unless you arose from a different era. I would say I'm a rebel with a cause. I got out of love. So I started to refocus my thoughts. What if my life was bored or depressed? What if I had a reason to live besides stuff in my own empty pockets? I wonder what it is. Could you be the kid who eternity for me? Can you set me free from the chains I'm dying in right now? Did I go to provide the answers to the questions sliding round inside the minds of countless individuals all around the world? Forget all the glitter and glamour. As long as I can speak without a stammer, slurring and blurring the meaning of my words, incoherently mumbling under my breath, making me increasingly frustrated, 'cause nobody can understand me, even if we're talking at the same volume, sharing our mother tongue or second language. Your second or third, my first. Eliminating the concept of native speakers, seeing as there's so much cross-pollination of our linguistic ballistics. We use our intelligence as a way of maintaining power over those who don't own our elite status. Are we glory in the triumph of the underdog, to the point where we don't see the value in learning anything new? Saying there's nothing you can teach me we don't already know. A case of the old dog not being willing to be taught any new tricks. Gazing at the canine star, Rex will take you where you are. Royalty brain in a jar, sitting on a shelf somewhere. Cybergenically preserved, my dear. They try and make you into something that you're not. They will try all the days of their lives to mold you in the image and make you look just like them, like till you lose all appearance of uniqueness and individuality. Conformity is the name of the game, but it isn't all bad, cause they're positive influence. Just might rub off on you. And you might find yourself accepting the parts of yourself you once rejected as being better off without attachment to your skin. They tried to lock us up, tried to shut us down, tried to steal our robes and crowns. But they can't touch them, 'cause we get them. Beyond the grave. There's nothing they can do to stop the spread of our king. His blood will conquer anything that stands in the way of his progress. It's a slow and steady tortoise-like healing process. For some, the miracle cure occurs instantaneously. The rest of us have received it. It's just a case of our physical bodies catching up with the pace of our speedy spirits. Stay lit for me. Don't let your fire burn out, my sweetheart. Desperation can make a man do stupid things to hold on to his prized possession. A friendship becomes an adult in my life. I'm better off getting rid of my obsession. If I can't be with you without treating you like you are my universe maker. It's all or nothing with me. I don't know how to be anything but over the top. Call me extremist if you must, 'cause darling, I'm extremely in love with you and I don't ever intend to quit. Bite the bullet, fight hard for a life that's lived to the fullest. Call me a stun mother when I wake up and find you gone. From my marriage bed, leave the imprints of your memory. Leave the imprints of your body in the sheets. Never wash them or touch them again. Your warmth has gone from the mattress till now. Your memory lingers on. Traces its fingers round my door. Heap your scorn on me, Pharisee, hypocrite, Philistine. I admit I am anything but damage for all eternity. Come with me. You want to see the world's perspective through my eyes. You could truly say you embrace diversity. If you own both pairs of wings, otherwise your balance is thrown off slightly. It's not enough to simply say I choose to walk a different way. I don't believe we all reach heaven through every door no we turn. Trying to avoid getting burned. Did you learn from the mistakes of the past? Stop twisting his noble word to fit your dream. If you own both pairs of wings, otherwise your balance is thrown off slightly. You can truly say you embrace diversity. It's not enough to simply say I choose to walk a different way. I don't believe we all reach heaven through every door. No return. Trying to avoid getting burnt. Did you learn from the mistakes of the past? Stop twisting his noble words to fit your own skewed version of events that doesn't even slightly resemble the truth found in his beautiful embrace. It's hard to just stand there and take this assault on my beliefs lying down. I see your battle won in the spirit realm. Let them think what they want about us. It won't change our love for them one iota. My theology goes against the concept of serendipity. Nothing good or bad ever occurred by chance or accident. It is only a result of the warfare that's engaged in the heavenly realms between God and the fallen stars, thrown out the pearly gates and tossed down to earth by their own actions.
I don't believe in coincidences. It's only God's hands moving that makes pleasant experiences happen in our lives. We don't give them nearly enough credit. They criticize us till they're blue in the face, plotting to erase us from this planet, raise our buildings to their very foundations. They've chewed them into parklands, or turned them into synagogues of Satan. I wax lyrical about the hysterical response of those who say our minds are closed, yet they can display an obvious lack of empathy and transparent sign of their own avoidance of open dialogue, already presuming to know the answers before the questions are even asked. We view the world through our own interpretive lens. Can I share my point of view without you trying to turn me into your friend? I won't just throw my hands in the air and surrender, saying you were right when you were wrong. I can use my powers of persuasion to attempt to convince you to change your belief system, but you have to want this. God, answer for yourself. There is so much more to life in this world, in the sense of a transformed future nature of a world. If you are wise, you will see the evidence. If it's a lie, then why did people risk humiliation coming back to share their story? Don't you understand that you win by mockery just for the purpose of commercial exploitation can commonly be achieved far more easily in a simpler way than embracing ridicule for the sake of profit. In truth, it doesn't yield as much benefit as you may think. We get cash faster by glorifying the profane than we ever did the sacred. Making money isn't our motive. That isn't what this locomotive runs on. That isn't why we do this thing. It's not a con job. If only you could pull the wool out your eyes and ears. The devil has blinded and deafened you, it seems. Will you ever learn from your mistakes, or will you just make them over and over again? In an endless loop of never growing up, it's time to reach maturity. Start the sky, digest in the midst, give up the milk. You have been baby fed for far too long. Do you think attending church is the reason why Jesus died for us? Or to fill the world with lovers of his presence? I had seen the look up from the tourist point of view, never spending the night without my parents inside, or someone I love and care about and know personally, more than just a name or a face. It disappears from memory without a trace, unless I want to conjure up a convenient target for my enmity. None of us is able to escape the reach of the law's long arm. Is there anywhere on earth any of us is completely safe from harm? I'd rather be eaten alive by tiger sharks than walk in the dark through that forbidden park. Make my death quick and swift. That would be sweet. I would feel the pain for a shorter period of time. Not like Chinese water torture where I'm waiting for the pool to fill up. When I'm strapped to the bottom of it, staring up at the stars, gazing at the planets, wishing I could join them. Fly out on a rocket ship, tripping out on the feeling if I was dipped in the blood of Jesus. Does that mean I'm cleansed? I don't have to worry about all these bombs dropping on my neighborhood. Unless we truly do have souls, and they need saving from the devil's torture chamber. Jim Junkies getting funky with the gospel, telling everybody that you know the truth that sets you free. The message of eternity, the fact that we're not here forever in this mortal form. These bones will rot and die. This flesh will be destroyed, yet with my eyes I will see God, seeking after his face.
building bridges between Jesus and the human race. My thoughts getting lost in space, staring into the great beyond with a vacant look up on my visage. You can see me sailing off amongst the stars, drifting off somewhere in the distance, unable to maintain my resistance to the tug of the ageless uncreated one, guided by the Father, Spirit, and Son. Oh, we are one with, yet not equal to by any means, being higher than the angels, but lesser in the hierarchical order of existence, getting gifts mixed up with baskets of fruit delivered by the Holy Goose, helping me to cut loose from the bonds of this world. I can't keep this secret all to myself. Well, may they scoff secretly to themselves about our delusions, but to some in the world, everything anybody believes other than nothing is an illusion. Those people are only tricking themselves into abandonment of hope, stringing the rope around their necks and pulling it tight. Don't blame us when you wake up in hell. Don't pin the voodoo doll of us attempting to find fault in our approach. Oh, if only they had been a little more loving, then maybe I wouldn't be roasting in Satan's oven. Well, maybe that's the case, but we are more than rats in a race. Our lives have a purpose. You should have seen the searchlights. God was looking for you all your life, sending signs, but you killed the prophets. Didn't you know when you severed the connection between the skull and neck, you just sliced up your own head in the realm of the spirit? Oh, they despair over us radical ones, those burning daughters and sons, whose lamps refuse to be snuffed out by fear and doubt. I don't fear the attack on the horizon, though I know it's sure to come. That doesn't make me a negative person just because I add a little caution to my futurist diagnosis, prognosticating on what's eventuating for our world. On this we can agree that we're all desperately in need of peace. It's not a question of submitting my will to yours. In order for us to get along, we must allow for divergence and a true university approach. Finding unity in diversity. You may be of a different belief to me, but that doesn't mean we can be friends. Just as I refuse to compromise on certain things. Some of those whose minds may be diametrically opposed may be in agreement on this view, that both of us can't be right at the same time, for right can't exist without wrong until the new heavens and the new earth are created. When up and heaven merges one, the dead comes to life, flesh appears on their bones. Those who are in Christ to remain faithful till he returns. How can you be in him and deny his God? How can you say you love his Father unless you love the Son just as much? Don't miss out on the joy I found in his arms. I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't believe in it. I wouldn't be wasting my time if I didn't know for sure he is alive. Don't relegate visitations of the Most High to the history books. Take a look around you and see what's going on around us. Peace out.